Okay guys, no funny business, I just want to talk a bit about Starfield. I know this game has a ton of hype around it, but I'm truly going into this blind. I don't know anything about Starfield other than it's a Bethesda role-playing game. And like all the Bethesda games, has a pretty damn good character creator that lets you create exactly who you want to be. And that you'll never actually see because you'll be in first-person mode or shrouded in a thick spacesuit 98% of the time. This is my character Rufus. Having grown up in a low-income rural area, Rufus is a racist and will become immediately hostile to any alien or filthy grayskin he encounters. As an impressionable teen with no after-school social program due to budget cuts when the county's hydroponic wheat farm caught fire, he turned to the internet where he discovered the undercurrents of fringe ideology and found a community in the bodybuilding forums where he learned about the benefits of TRT and unmarked drone delivery drugs that could be purchased off Interstellargram. Habitually taking these drugs caused him to suffer hair loss and bouts of acne. But working out and reading about the deep state Nog takeover gave him a sense of purpose in life he never felt before. But he still had bills to pay after his father died and his mom took sick. His father was a miner, and his father before him. At the ripe age of 21, there was nothing more important in life than to carry on the torch and protect the cause. Our name is Rufus T. Tot Payne. And our...
What? Pronouns?
No, the immersion is broken! Aliens, yes. Intergalactic travel, of course. But pronouns? In my sci-fi role-playing game? That is taking it too far. No, sir. Or ma'am. Or whatever you identify as, because I accept you for who you want to be. Just like Starfield. So first and foremost, yes, it's a Bethesda game. I find these games comfy. They activate the same spots in my brain that keeps me engaged and at the same time relaxed. If you don't like the flow of Bethesda games, then you already have your answer for whether or not you should buy it. It's the Bethesda experience with all the Bethesda-isms. It feels like home, and I love it for that. But if you've never played a Bethesda game before, that's when this whole thing becomes a bit iffy. I'm really enjoying my time with Starfield, but at the same time, every session that I've had so far leaves me in a mix of emotions. This game is not amping me up with hype, and I'm not exactly running to the hilltops to scream that everyone should buy it. And yet, it's the most fun and engagement I've had with a game in a while. Engaging in low-gravity combat with the awesome array of attributed weapons, growing your skill tree, exploring pirate-infested space stations and planets are all great. That's where the peak gameplay lies for me. And that gameplay is surrounded by beautiful cities and worlds, and intriguing lore and characters who you can be a cutthroat smartass to.
Okay. Smartass.
But when it comes to the whole explore the depths of space thing, you know, the whole major appeal behind a title like Starfield, my first impression is, I hate it. The introduction to space combat and then the subsequent 5 other times I've done it was just a pain. Enemy ships kept flying off the screen, and when more than 2 enemies are fighting you at once, it's an absolute headache. I kept having to reorient myself just to shoot at them for 3 seconds at a time. It felt like sluggish trash all around. You know, standard space combat gameplay. I feel like it's probably mandatory for you to upgrade your ship or add pilot perks for this to be fun. And yet, in the 10 hours that I've had with this game, I've only had to engage in combat a handful of times. Not enough for me to actually care to spend my skill points on it, but we'll see. In future sessions, I'll try to explore this aspect more. First impressions were meh, but I might warm up to things later. Traveling around in space wasn't all that fun either. To give the game credit, I'm not even that enamored about space travel in general, so conceptually the game was already at a disadvantage for me. But then I found myself actually quite enjoying the idea of traveling to distant planets on a customized spaceship. You do get goosebumps the first time you settle into the cockpit and prepare for takeoff. But then I quickly realized how it's all just a glorified loading screen that becomes completely optional once you realize fast travel bypasses it. When I first had control of the ship, I thought I had to fly to the destination, and so I'm sitting there warp boosting for like 5 minutes before realizing I'm not even moving. The icon and distance information is misleading as hell. It makes it seem like I can actually just go over there. Instead, I had to open up the map, open up another map, open up another map, click around the little context menus on the planets, and basically fast travel there. Upon realizing this, I was like, great, I don't ever want to be in this space mode again. The amount of menu hopping irks me to my core. And then on top of that, the UI is terrible. There's been numerous times that I've been stuck in menus, unable to find the right combination of buttons to advance out of them. Or I tried to go to one location, sat through 3 travel cutscenes, and then by the time I got to my location, forgot where I was only to realize that the icon I clicked on wasn't the right one because they all look the same and overlap each other. And thus I had to sit through more travel cutscenes. The local map is Terrible. This is so useless, you might as well just have a list of fast travel locations. One quest abruptly had me locked on a ship, hijacking the quest I was in the middle of, but it never actually activated this new quest for me. Instead, it stuck the old one on me that was instructing me to get back to my ship, behind a locked door that wouldn't open unless I figured out where the hell I needed to go for this now mandatory one. There was just a ton of hang-up moments like that. Anytime I get to one of these abandoned research labs, I breathe a sigh of relief because that means I can stay the hell out of these menus and focus on actually playing the game for a while. Admittedly, part of it is that there is a learning curve to this game. This game does not hold your hand or sit you through any tutorials. You kinda have to figure things out on your own. But that learning curve is also centered around bumbling through menus. I think I might just now be getting used to it 10 hours in. I mean, plain and simple, it's bad UI design. You're going to be constantly opening menus, opening submenus, clicking around to find where you are. Look, I'm not the only one here. There's straight up multiple video tutorials for how to dock your ship. I was opening every little menu I could, pecking away at every button. There's multiple threads started by people also confused because they got stuck somewhere. The game kept instructing me to check my ship's inventory. I had no idea how to do that. Then I lost all the legendary items I had stored in my ship because apparently adding an upgraded cannon is a big enough change for it all to get wiped. Hauled all that stuff around for nothing. I was playing early access, so the frame rate issues, crashes, and general bugginess can be excused for now. Besides, they haven't really interfered with the game all that much, but keep in mind performance isn't 100 yet. I know it sounds like I'm ragging on the game, but this is just my first impressions, and I want you to be aware of these downsides. If any of this sounds like a deal breaker, it probably is, and you shouldn't rush out to buy it until you know these issues are ironed out with an update. But despite all my gripes, when you really put some time in, the game loop is very fun. It's usually met with high highs and low lows, but I'm still chasing those highs. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video when I complete the campaign, see if that really knocks my socks off, but so far I can't think of a quest that has been compelling enough for that. I've seemed to stumble into a pattern of doing fetch quests designed to get you used to the map, which is totally fair but not exactly something I can write home about. The worlds and cities are absolutely gorgeous, the surrounding lore has been very interesting, the premise of the main campaign still has me curious to learn more, but it's clear there's much more to be seen before I can give solid judgment. These games are designed to be slow burns after all, which is something I just love about them. There's a lot of side content to get lost in, but that's true for all the Bethesda games. There was a lot of controversy around IGN scoring this game a 7 out of 10, which I think is pretty hilarious because I honestly think that's a fair score. It's a good game, at times it can be a great game, but I'm really only finding myself engaged in the gameplay half the time and fighting with menus and navigation the other half. It made me miss Fallout more than anything. One open map where you're constantly moving forward and letting the game unfold before you. Space exploration has so far only meant that you get the same experience but with 10 times as many loading screens and even more barren maps to navigate and less quirky world lore to uncover. But I think what really cinches it is this. My friend has never played a Bethesda game before. He asked me what I thought about Starfield, and after assessing this game for myself, I'd honestly tell him to play Fallout 4 over this game if he wanted an introduction to a Bethesda RPG. Yeah, I said it. Low gravity combat is fun. This game has absolutely a better base system than Fallout 4. Creation Engine 2 feels like a solid upgrade, but there's too much downtime and it takes a while for this game to make sense. I feel solid on a 7 out of 10 right now, though I strongly suspect that will grow to an 8 out of 10 by the time I finish the game. Hell, maybe even a 9 out of 10. Remember guys, this is just a first impression, but after putting 10 hours in, it's a bit of a rough start. That's a long time to dedicate yourself to a game before it begins to click, and I could absolutely see that filtering out your average gamer. But man, if you're willing to put up with that clunky learning curve and the game finally clicks for you, you're going to have a ton of content to explore. I love Bethesda games too much. I'm willing to put up with a lot of bullshit for them, but I'm not sure it's the best introduction to a Bethesda experience. It feels a bit more niche for space enthusiasts, not my cup of tea. But even then, I think No Man's Sky or The Outer Worlds offers enough competition to make the whole space exploring aspect of Starfield feel less special. Yeah, I said it. I'm just here to shoot and loot. But now that I'm at the tail end of my first impressions, I have to say, every session that I've put into it has felt better than the last, and there's been no signs of that stopping. 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever. I'm just going to say I recommend. Stick with it and you'll have a great game to keep you busy. Alright, let me know what you think about Starfield in the comments below and whether or not a game taking more than 10 hours of playtime before you get the hang of things is a good thing or a bad thing. Thank you for watching, thank you to all my subscribers and members, and I'll see you next time.